All right, cool. I did it. I think it works. Everyone, I'm in my car again. I know the market is down right now significantly, and it can definitely be a little scary when the market is down like this. Definitely take advantage of some of these because whatever stock that you're holding right now, make sure that you take advantage of this because it's these kind of days where you step in and buy the dips are most of the time an opportunity. Whichever way the stock market goes, if it continues to go down, it's still going to be an opportunity. If and then if it recovers, it's going to be a great buy. So we're starting to see the market kind of capitulate to the downside for the day. The As you can see, the S&P is down 1%, the Dow is down, the Nasdaq's down. Obviously, the VIX is going to be up about almost 8% there. The Russell is also down about 1%. But if you have any company that you hold right now and you think those companies are really good companies, it's a good day to buy. So I did take a bite of some of the dip today, and I also did it on Friday last week, and I did it also yesterday. Whenever you see the dip, it's always just been the same stories, opportunity to to make a buy into those companies. I wanted to go ahead and react to AMD. They're reporting today. When the market closes, I'm super excited because I think the numbers are going to be good. But with the market seeing the what we're seeing right now because it's down so much, I think we're going to see an opportunity for even if they beat by a little bit for the stock to actually do well. We are since the stock has been up significantly, obviously investors or analysts are going to need more expectations, but I think this is going to be an opportunity to pick up some shares. I should have done this before, but I'm going to turn off all notifications, and then we're going to just react to what they're talking about, the forecast for earnings and what's going on.
Announcing a strategic partnership earlier that month with OpenAI for computing power. AMD shares are up more than 110% this year going into this afternoon's earnings report. So let's just take a look across the chip space right now and see how some of the other names are performing on this very important day for AMD, obviously. And that stock is actually down 1.3% ahead of that report card. Nvidia is lower as well, down 2.5%. It did have a nice little rally, suffice to say, though, yesterday. Broadcom is the standout, just a little bright spot there among some of the chip names, up 1.4%. So outperforming, and then you've got Intel, which is lower. It's actually the underperformer across these four names, down almost 4% in trade today. So it's a bit of a mixed performance, a mixed bag across some of the chip names today, but very much is the focus of the morning trade. So joining us now for a closer look is Schwab Network host Marley Caden. Very good morning to you, Marley. Nice to see you there. What are the street's expectations for this afternoon's earnings report? Because I suppose the bar has been pretty high, and it's got to justify just this huge run-up that we've seen over the last month.
Yeah, it certainly does. And the bar is high for them. For the third quarter, they're expecting EPS of $1.17 on revenue of $8.72 billion. That would be an increase up from 92 cents and $6.8 billion that they saw in the same quarter last year. So it would be improving numbers. But like you've said, they've had a really impressive run-up on a lot of these new deals. The AI chip deals with OpenAI and Oracle, the two that have really sent shares skyrocketing, particularly. First deal came last month, that OpenAI deal, for them to supply 6 gigawatts worth of GPUs to power its data centers. OpenAI then agreed to purchase more than 160 million shares of AMD, which is roughly 10% of the company. It's important to note, though, that those will likely not have much of an impact on this quarter's results. Those will likely hit in the coming quarters. So while they have contributed to the massive run-up that we've seen, likely not a lot of impact there, or that deal with Oracle to deploy up to 50,000 GPUs across the cloud company's data centers. That likely won't hit until at least the next earnings report, if not after that. Some that we could see, though, reflecting are their deals to provide chips to power 2 Department of Energy supercomputers at Oak Ridge National Lab. They will represent a $1 billion private and public investment when completed. We could see some of that impact here. But like you mentioned, the run-up so far this year, up 112% year to date. On the whole, the last 12 months, 82%. So it is really a sky high right now and down 1% today, but trading near those all-time highs. Important to note, though, AMD is still really trailing its competitor, NVIDIA. NVIDIA has the majority market share on the AI trade, saw its market cap cross $5 trillion recently. And for some perspective, AMD's market cap sitting just below $418 billion right now.
So I agree. Yes, NVIDIA is way above and is right now the main company that's winning the AI industry. But the industry is going to need competition. So that's why I think AMD still has room to grow, significant amount of room, because you have a company that Nvidia is sitting around $5 trillion. The next competition is sitting at about 400 million, 500 million. So there's definitely a lot of room for AMD to go.
Sam.
Yeah, I suppose it's a little bit too early to tell how that deal with OpenAI and some of the stuff that they've announced over the last month is actually bearing fruit. I've heard some analysts are sort of talking about this name as more of a 2026 story, as you pointed out, Marley. So we'll have to wait and see. And of course, you and I will be breaking down some of those numbers this afternoon. Thanks so much for that. I'll catch you later. Let's trade it now with Tim Bigham, option strategist at Pilot AI. How are you approaching your example trade for AMD, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is a stock, as you and Molly alluded to, Sam, that has certainly rallied very sharply, running into a little overhead resistance up around that 265 area. Tried twice to kind of break out above there, met some selling up there. So I think that can be a significant kind of at least short-term top in the stock here. Certainly valuations off the chart. The deals, as you alluded to, kind of more of a circular sort of I'll pay you, you pay me, and we'll both look better together sort of scenario. How they pan out will be interesting, and when and if they pan out, even the bigger question. So I'm guardedly bearish, really not looking for a pullback here, but just thinking a move back above that 265 high will be difficult unless they absolutely knock it out of the park on earnings here. So I'm just going out selling this week's 275, 277 and a half call spread, getting about 50 cents for that trade. I like that risk return of 25%, risking $200 to make $50 here, plus have about a 20-point upside cushion on the shares, which is above that 265 resistance and above the option implied expected move range of about 7.5%, selling over 100 IV as well. And the call skew, the calls are trading at a premium to the puts, which is normally assigned to a little over exuberance here. So getting even more richly rewarded for selling this out of the money call spread.
Okay, and I suppose we want to hear from this company sort of what it's saying about the outlook as well, continuing to sort of position itself in the race with NVIDIA as well, particularly as we start to see some of the conversations creeping into the market now, Tim, about the AI valuation story. What do you make of the price action we're seeing out there today?
Yeah, it's about time is, all I have to say about that, Sam. Certainly valuations are at historic extremes, and it really just takes some stock weakness to finally get the valuations to come into play when these stocks are going straight up. No one cares about valuations. Now that they're running into a little bit of trouble here, all of a sudden valuations matter. Ultimately, at the end of the day, valuations very important. Hard for these companies to grow at the pace that they're priced for, which is where the valuations come from. And we'll see if Palantir is kind of the precursor to some of the remaining big AI names that are reporting here, where they beat by a decent amount, but you see the stock drop simply because they were too high to begin with.
Got it. All right. Always appreciate your insights, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us here on Schwab Network today. That is Tim Bigham.
All right. So that is all. So as you can see there, the guy was talking about valuation and growth. Companies definitely have to see growth. I don't think the growth story for AMD has gone anywhere. So as you can see is, at open, it was down around almost 5%, 4.5%, a little over 4.5% at open market. And then since then, it's kind of recovered, going back down again. But the entire market, the entire stock market is kind of waiting for this company to report, because their numbers are going to be very important to see where this whole AI, let me see if I can go here, where this whole AI industry is going. So I think I heard this somewhere. I think that AMD AMD is like the queen of the chip market, because they're gonna need, and Nvidia is the king, and because they're number one right now. But the queen is also important when it comes to what the other for the build out of the entire infrastructure. So the companies are going to need competitors. Otherwise, Nvidia is going to keep hiking the price of those companies, those products that they sell, unless competition comes in and says, you know what, we can sell quality products almost as good or just as good as the competition at a lower price. So there's always room for there's going to be always room for competition, and the companies that buy those products are going to want that competition. But then, overall today, hopefully you get to pick up some of these shares. You got Kraken Robotics down almost 5%. You got Fluence Energy. If you're in the energy plays, that's down 4%. BMNU is getting its booty kicked. down a lot. It's right now sitting at $40 a share. Amazon is also down. That's a great company to buy. We got PayPal, SoFi down just a little bit, about 2%, and then AMD down about 1%, 1.46%, already recovering a little bit. So by the end of the day, AMD is going to be reporting numbers, and I'm super excited. Just wanted to hop on here and encourage you to make sure you pick up some shares, because when the market's down, that's a great discount, especially if you like the company. That's how you build wealth. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll be live later covering the AMD earnings around probably after market close, and I'll try